During the mid-1910s, de Hollandse IJzeren Spoorwegmaatschappij faced a challenge. Express services were getting faster, heavier, and more demanding, and most Dutch railway companies were turning to large 2C locomotives to keep up. But HSM mechanical engineer Willem Hupkes saw things differently. He believed that the company didn't need a heavier machine with 3 driving axles. What the HSM needed was something lighter, more efficient, and built for speed. A refined 2B express locomotive that could outperform its larger counterparts through engineering finesse rather than brute force. From that idea came the design that would evolve into the HSM 500 series, later known as the NS 2100 class. When the first locomotives arrived from Berliner Maschinenbau in 1914, they immediately stood out. Their enormous 2100mm driving wheels, the largest ever fitted to a Dutch steam locomotive, announced exactly what they were built for: fast, long-distance expresses. And as they accelerated, the metallic rattle of their coupling rods gave them a nickname that would follow them: Blikketines. The arrival of the 500 series marked a turning point for the HSM. Passenger numbers were rising, long-distance routes were busier than ever, and the company needed a locomotive capable of handling demanding express schedules. Hupkes' design delivered exactly that. The enormous driving wheels gave the locomotives a long, steady stride at speed, ideal for the main lines between Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and international routes heading east. Despite having only 2 coupled axles, the engines proved remarkably capable, combining light running gear with excellent stability and efficiency. The first 5 locomotives were built by Berliner Maschinenbau in 1914, followed by additional batches from Werkspoor between 1916 and 1920. In total, 35 locomotives entered service, assigned primarily to the major depot at Amsterdam and Rotterdam. Crews quickly came to appreciate their smooth running and ability to hold speed with ease, and the class soon became the HSM's preferred choice for their top-tier express trains. By the time the HSM merged with the Staatsspoorwegen in 1921, forming the Nederlandse Spoorwegen, the 500 series had already proven itself as one of the company's most successful locomotive classes. They represented the peak of HSM express engineering, a confident final chapter before the railway became part of a national system. After the merger, the locomotives entered the national fleet as the NS 2100 series. They continued to work the Dutch main lines, hauling long-distance services between major Dutch cities and international trains towards Germany. During the interwar years, the NS introduced newer and heavier 2C express locomotives, but the 2100s remained competitive. Their efficient running gear and large wheels allowed them to keep in time on demanding schedules without the fuel consumption or maintenance burden of the newer, more powerful engines. As a result, they often worked alongside their successors rather than being pushed aside by them. The Second World War placed enormous strain on the Dutch railway network, and the 2100 saw intensive use. Several locomotives ended up outside the Netherlands by the war's end, and the post-war years brought new challenges. As the NS rebuilt its infrastructure, diesel and electric traction, once experimental, became practical replacements for steam traction with mainline service. Gradually, the 2100s were reassigned from premier express services to lighter passenger work and secondary routes. Their speed was no longer essential, but their reliability kept them useful well into the early 1950s. Withdrawals began as modern traction expanded, and in 1954, the final locomotive, NS 2104, was retired after being put aside with a defect. However, 2104 escaped the cutter's torch. Instead, it received a cosmetic restoration and in 1957 was donated to the Nederlandse Spoorwegmuseum. The NS 2100 class was known for its remarkably smooth running, gathering speed with minimal resistance at a light, free-rolling feel that crews valued on long stretches of mainline track. In service, they could reach circa 110 km an hour, a respectable figure for their era. The boiler delivered steady, predictable steam output during extended runs, maintaining pressure with little fluctuation. One of its most distinctive characteristics was the sharp, metallic rhythm of the motion gear at speed, a sound that became part of the locomotive's identity. The braking system, however, demanded finesse. Highly responsive brakes combined with a long wheelbase meant that even small adjustments could noticeably affect stopping distance. This sensitivity made the 2100 a preferred locomotive for driver examinations, where candidates had to stop with extreme precision so the tender's small water-filling opening aligned perfectly with the narrow hose from a water tower. Despite the reliability of the 2100s, they did have some shortcomings, one being the forward-sloping firebox, which made firing noticeably more awkward in service. In working order, the class weighed around 105 tons and measured 17.8 meters in length. Though lighter than many contemporary express locomotives, its balanced construction and refined running gear gave it a reputation for reliability and smooth handling throughout its career. Within the development of Streamlined, the NS2100 occupies a foundational role. It was the first locomotive ever created for the project, modeled during Streamline's infancy when the game had no established visual style, no defined mechanics, and barely any assets. The NS2100 effectively became the template from which the rest of the game's rolling stock evolved. A remnant of this early development history still exists in the game. The original prototype model of the NS2100 lies abandoned and scrapped in Dokmuiden, serving as a quiet nod to the locomotive that began Streamline's journey. Due to the NS2100's significance, it has received multiple refinements over time. This serves as a reflection of Streamline's legacy and the dev team's desire to keep improving the game. Prior to version 0.5.17, the NS2100 was one of the 2 steam locomotives every new player began with. However, it would later be replaced by the NS1300. Following this change, the NS2100 became available for purchase at the price of 175,000 gulden at level 46, where it serves as a mid-game passenger locomotive.